Central Asian pastoralists have a lasting impact on Eurasia in the post-classical world. Pastoralists have a herding-based economy since Central Asia lacks the rainfall needed for an agricultural-based society. Pastoralists migrated through Central Asia based on the climate fit for their animals. In order to supplement the agricultural products and other goods for basic needs, pastoralists had to engage in constant trade. They had a simple social structure, just nobles and commoners, and a religion based on ancestral worship and nature spirits. Women played a larger role in society than in other cultures during the post-classical era because work was required when men were fighting or hunting. The pastoralists had a clan-based society with little central administration. However, some of these nomadic peoples established imperial courts. As seen in A European Visitor to China, these pastoralists established a well-integrated society that facilitated trade, cultivated religion, and dominated militarily. For example, the Great Khan had an elaborate imperial court at Khan Balik in the Mongol Empire that held a large population and buildings that displayed the wealth of the empire. So why are pastoralists significant? Are the stereotypes made against them true? And how should we remember Central Asian pastoralists?
Central Asian pastoralists in the post-classical era left the most lasting legacy by uprooting the empires of the Eastern Hemisphere, advocating and cultivating vast popularity for various religions, and integrating Asia and Europe by establishing unceasing trade.
Central Asian pastoralists in the post-classical era left the most lasting legacy by integrating Asia and Europe by establishing unceasing trade. Trade was a large part of nomadic society. Since they did not have an agricultural-based society because of their migratory cycles, imports were crucial to their survival. The Silk Roads aided the transportation of goods as well as integrating Eurasian ideas, religions, and culture. Asian pastoralists facilitated trade along the Silk Road. This not only helped the inhabitants who lived along the Silk Road, but it also helped the empire increase revenue. So trade was a win-win. During the Mongol Empire, the Great Khan subjected many provinces to his rule. Certain provinces along the Silk Road helped the empire facilitate trade more easily. Genghis Khan conquered the Khotan province, Hind province, Charchan province, which were all based along the Silk Road, as seen in Marco Polo's description of traveling the Silk Road. These provinces provided agricultural products for the empire and played a very important role in the Mongol Empire. The Mongols were able to subdue these certain provinces and receive essential trade, and therefore enabled the Mongolian Empire to thrive. Trade during the Mongol Empire spread ideas. For example, the invention of gunpowder in China traveled west into Persia during the Mongol Empire. The trade brought on by the Mongols throughout Eurasia not only helped pastoralist people, but also aided cultural diffusion and increased communication. As seen in advice for merchants traveling to Cathay, the land routes were relatively safe for merchants, which then encouraged trade throughout the empire. Another Asian pastoralist group that relied on trade were the Uyghurs. The Uyghurs produced minimal agricultural products in their society, yet still had trade throughout their empire. Early Uyghurs and Central Asians became merchants along the Silk Road, which connected them to the Byzantines, to Persia, and to China. Also because the nomads were very familiar with the land, the Uyghurs were often hired to lead trading caravans. This connection between these different areas in Asia helped diffuse of different cultures and spread of ideas. As more Uyghurs became merchants, they were able to help create a better empire by stimulating trade, which then increased the economic welfare of the Uyghur Empire. Overall, trade has contributed so much to each Asian pastoralist group by providing necessary agricultural trade goods, increasing cultural diffusion, and a spreading of ideas. Without the participation of these Asian pastoralists in trade, many cultures and ideas would have been lost.
Central Asian pastoralists between the 7th and 16th centuries are most remembered by advocating and cultivating the vast popularity of various religions. These nomadic peoples traditionally worshipped nature spirits and divine ancestors. Religious individuals referred to as shamans connected ancestral spirits to their secular descendants through visions from the gods. Pastoralists sought sage advice to strengthen their spiritual relationship with various deities from the shamans. These religious customs centered around the shamans practiced by Asian pastoralists are known as shamanism. However, as these pastoralists expanded their empires, they slowly absorbed various religions and advocated them throughout Eurasia, therefore increasing their significance. The Jurchen peoples were a group of Central Asian pastoralists who originated from eastern Manchuria. The Jurchen flourished between the 12th and 13th centuries. In 1115, Huayan Aguda established the Jin state in northern China after driving the Song dynasty southward and conquering the Khitan. The Jurchen occupied China until 1234 and consequently were highly influenced by Chinese culture. Jurchen people were originally shamanistic and worshipped the sun. However, they gradually adopted Buddhism and the Quanzhen sect of Taoism. Jurchen also adopted the Chinese law code and the agrarian society of China. Buddhist monasteries were common throughout the Jin Empire and aided the conversion of the majority of Jurchen people. They were enchanted by the belief of immortality of the spirit, a central principle in Buddhism not found in shamanism. Jurchen people also admired bodhisattvas and their sense of obligation to Chinese society. If Jurchen conquerors would have persecuted their religious subjects, then Buddhism might not have endured or had such an extensive impact on China. Therefore, Jurchen left a lasting legacy in China by cultivating the popularity of Buddhism throughout the Jin Empire. Secondly, the Turks are also remembered by cultivating mass popularity for religions, specifically Islam. The Seljuk Turks migrated to Persia and Anatolia and lived on the outskirts of the Abbasid Caliphate. Slowly, Seljuk Turks began inhabiting the Abbasid Empire. In the 11th century, the Persian Caliph appointed Turkish leader Turgul Beg as the Sultan, or ruler. Turgul captured the Abbasid Caliphate at Baghdad and extended his rule to the surrounding states. The Abbasid Empire was predominantly Muslim. The Seljuk Turks largely adopted Islam because of salvation and good fortune was very appealing over their traditional shamanistic religion. Sufi missionaries throughout the Abbasid Caliphate also helped the spread of Islam to the Turkish pastoralists. The first large-scale conversion of the Turks to Islam was in the 900s. As the Seljuk Turks stretched their empire far and wide, they spread Islam throughout it. Many times, Turks actually forced their conquered peoples to convert to Islam. Seljuk Turks left a lasting legacy in the post-classical era by supporting the Islamic faith throughout their empire. Without the Central Asian pastoralists' impact on the post-classical world, religions such as Islam and Buddhism might not have reached their current-day influence.
The Central Asian pastoralists during the post-classical era were able to leave a legacy that still lives on today by changing the political map of the Eastern Hemisphere. Military played a large role in many of the societies of the Asian pastoralist group and was for many a way of life. Since the pastoralists were herders and hunters, they had impeccable equestrian skill and archery skills, and one of the most maneuverable armies known to history. During the Mongolian Empire, the Mongols went on numerous military conquests and were able to create the largest empire of all time. Speed and maneuverability was used to shock their enemies. Chinggis Khan united the Mongolian tribes. His united army conquered the Turkish Empire in Tibet, Persia, land in the Central Asian steppes, and the Jin Empire in northern China, after capturing their capital at Khanblik in 1215. Mongols also conquered Kiev in modern-day Russia, which then lost its central authority and failed to ever fully recover. However, as the Mongols expanded their empire, they destroyed existing civilizations and their valuable information and flourishing cultures. The Tartars, the name called by the Russians, used bows and arrows handmade by men and stirrups and saddles as weaponry against their opponents, as seen in Traveling Among the Mongols. The Mongolian military campaigns had a profound impact on the layout of Europe and Asia. Another Central Asian pastoralist group that flourished due to its military campaign were the Ottoman Turks. The Turkish pastoralists were equipped for military campaigns because their daily life consisted of herding and hunting. Also, as seen in The Arrival of the Turks, the Turkish officers made the important selection of caliphs, and caliphs were dependent on Turkish elements in the army. This shows what an important impact the Turkish officers had on their daily life. Under Osman, a group of pastoralists gained independence from the Seljuk Turks in Anatolia. Osman rallied support and established the Ottoman Empire after conquering the Balkan Peninsula and the flourishing capital of the Byzantine Empire at Constantinople in 1453. The Ottoman Turks also took the rest of the Byzantine Empire, Greece, Southwest Asia, Egypt, North Africa, and parts of Europe. There was a large negative impact that was created due to the conquest of the Mongolian and Turkish empires. Many existing empires were destroyed, flourishing cultures were lost, and information about these societies were altogether lost and can never be found again. Also, thriving capitals were demolished. Because of the Mongolian and Turkish conquest, the layout of Eurasia changed dramatically.
Central Asian pastoralists are often remembered for the massive destruction inflicted on many civilizations. It is often forgotten that pastoralists do not engage in military conquest but also spread many religions and increased the amount of trade that then brought economic prosperity to Eurasia. During the post-classical era, Central Asian empires fought and conquered surrounding areas for centuries and were feared by many for their skillful military tactics and effective battle plans. The impact of these military conquests gave way to the development of some of the largest and most powerful empires of the Eastern Hemisphere. The Central Asian pastoralists in the 7th through 16th centuries were essential figures in spreading and promoting new religions to the vast extent because of their well-communicated empires and religious tolerance. From the establishment of trade, Eurasia was able to prosper not only from increased wealth due to imports and exports, but also from enlarged cultural diffusion. Central Asian pastoralists in the post-classical era should not just be remembered as barbarians destroying civilizations, but also by promoting and spreading a vast popularity of religions and amalgamating Eurasia by establishing interminable trade. Thanks for listening.